Welcome to Startup Diaries, sponsored by Point-Click Technologies. My name is Ep7, and this is a new series highlighting 10 Gambian founders and their startup stories. Each episode has an in-depth interview with the founder, highlighting their ups and downs throughout their journey. Whether you are in the Gambia or somewhere out there in the diaspora, this show is for you. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below, as we would love to hear from you. Enjoy the show.
My name is Awamary Lowe-Khan. I am the founder of The Woman Boss. The Woman Boss was founded in 2017. I am from the Gambia, West Africa. And The Woman Boss is a social impact organization where we foster economic development by fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership for women and girls. The Woman Boss, the concept really came about in late 2016, early 2017. And this is from the work that I did back in the United States, a few years ago. And mainly is fostering innovation, entrepreneurship in a local distressed community. And so I did a collaboration. I worked on building the first Innovation Entrepreneurship Center with a collaborative effort from a fund that I worked for and my local alma mater, Shaw University. And so creating that, I always thought, okay, why not do the same thing? And coming into the Gambia, which is home, to do that for women only. So the concept really started in 2017. But we wanted to really focus on overall, which is the Innovate Gambia concept. And Innovate Gambia concept really focuses on 4 different thematic areas, and the Woman Boss being one of the services initiatives. We also have the lab, which is Disruptive Lab, which is the innovation center for the Gambia. So before you go into any type of business, whether it's going to be nonprofit organization or any other types entrepreneurial business, I think you have to do your market research thoroughly. Sometimes data can be very lacking, especially in least developed nations such as the Gambia. But before I came into the Gambia, I did research just entirely in West Africa or entirely in the continent of Africa. How many centers of innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership do we have for women only? And there were none, especially in West Africa, there were 0. And so I thought, okay, instead of focusing overall for the general public, as in male, female, why not really be intentional about building something for women and girls, being intentional about it? And so the market research is one, but then I started listening to the community, i.e. going into social media, seeing what was available, checking what was happening in the Gambia, checking what the need would be if this was the case, if we wanted to do this, because even in the United States at that time, they were like sporadic, maybe 1 or 2 here or there. And it was not intentional about, in the United States, it wasn't intentional about serving minority population. And I thought, okay, why not do it here where it's serving everybody, but mainly gender, in this case, women. So when we started the Innovate Gambia Woman Boss concept, the initiatives, we started with first identifying the need, what we wanted to highlight, what exactly we wanted to showcase, what we wanted to focus on, etc. And we created, first thing that we created was this booklet, an Innovate Gambia booklet, where we, it's kind of like a business plan. So we built a business plan, but the business plan became a booklet, and it included all of our services, included our programs, how the funding will come about, where we want to highlight, who we want to collaborate with, etc. And so that was the first thing that we did. Then the second was building a website. So we got the logo, got the name. Obviously, before everything else, obviously, is highlighting the names, right? Coming up with the concept, getting the name, get it registered, building the website, and we did a video, like a YouTube video, I think, that was main to kind of distribute that into the community to showcase, like, hey, we're coming. This is what we want to highlight. And then we did a social, Innovate Gambia social, that we hosted in 2017 to introduce Innovate Gambia concept into the country, what we want to do. We had different people from the community to come in and speak why innovation is important, etc. But in terms of the Woman Boss now, what we're doing and highlighting social media would be listening to what our quote-unquote customers are, what our audience is, what they need, what they want to hear, what they want to see. We do blogs. We write about blogs, just about impact of what we're doing in our community. And that is done monthly. We also do a lot of research on hashtags to know which hashtags are relevant, whether it's going to be centered around gender equality, whether it's centered around innovation, whether it's centered about leadership, just the work that we do to make sure that content is being created on a regular basis and being shared. How we develop our programs was very key and very, very important. And what did we want to focus on? So again, I mentioned listening to your community, listening to the needs of a community and solving a challenge. So in this case, the challenge was not having a safe space for women only, women and girls. And so listening into the community and figuring out what we wanted to do. So first thing that we did was to build the first accelerator program. And the accelerator program is our 90-day accelerator program where we train women entrepreneurs and then we focus on the mentorship component. And so the 90-day accelerator program, we have a curriculum that's curated solely for women entrepreneurs. Whether you're a startup to growth stage, and existing businesses, we have pretty much a program that will be catered for that. And we connect you with a mentor, and all of our mentors are in the diaspora, whether you're Gambian or American. We connect you with a mentor, and they go through the mentorship program for 3 months, which is the 90 days. For our Girls in Leadership series, that's the most important for me, dear to my heart, because it's, again, being intentional about building the next generation of women leaders. Currently in the Gambia, there's less than 10% of women in leadership or women in power, whether it's going to be in our legislative offices or ministerial positions. So what we started and came up with is building a leadership program solely for young girls. So we start from the ages 8 to 18. And for the women in leadership, we do 18 and above. But for our Girls in Leadership, we have a program that it's ran right now called our School Ambassadors Program, where currently we're in 29 schools locally within regions in the Gambia, and hopefully to expand into 2 additional regions in rural parts of the Gambia this year. And what that looks like is we have school ambassadors, and then they have clubs within the schools where we focus on building leaders, next generation of women leaders, but again, we focus on them building their self-esteem, projects that they can work on to help their communities, challenge their communities, build their communities. Gender-based violence, talk about challenges that, again, that they're going through not at home, but in the community, and how do they solve their own communities. So the first concept that we had was obviously starting in the Gambia, right? And so, but we always wanted to know, we always knew that we wanted to do and have a global footprint. So during COVID, which really worked out for us, we started with an accelerator program. And with the accelerator program, we did it virtually, so women across the world could apply. So we ended up having women from other parts of Africa and Europe and in the United States and Canada, and resulted now where we have women entrepreneurs representing in 11 different countries, in Gambia included. And then in the Gambia, we're very intentional about having the footprint not only being in urban parts of Gambia, but also rural. So this year, we received a grant from the U.S. Embassy, and we started our work in rural parts of Gambia. And in this case, it's in Lower River region. And this year, again, later part of the year in the fall, we're thinking about expanding and doing another region, which is North Bank. So making sure it's covered, our territory and our footprint is covered all over. Even though we do have women that apply to our programs and come to our programs from different parts of different communities, whether it's the Upper River or Central River to where we are. But again, being very intentional about where we are in our footprint. So when we started, again, being that it's a startup, it's a non-profit organization, especially with the Woman Boss, being very intentional about the resources that we have and leveraging what we have. So we started with myself, obviously not getting paid. I still don't get paid. My husband, my co-founder in this case, Malik, so he also doesn't get paid, but using those resources. And then my brother, so keeping in the family, who ended up being a trainer, a learning and development director. So starting with the resources that we had to start with. And then we went into now leveraging that, but within network, finding key people that could see the vision. We know that could take the vision to the next level, could understand it and relay it. So we hired a business manager, but even with the business manager, the Woman Boss at that time was not earning money or having funding outside sources of donations, et cetera. So we took that job, pretty much, the business manager job, and leveraged Point Click, which is our other organization, for-profit organization that still manages and funds a lot of our impact work that we do. In this case is the building that we're sitting in, they pay for it, et cetera. And so this person ended up working for both organizations, where at least one organization will end up paying, but then she also worked here. So that was our first hire. Then we hired a program officer, and with the program officer at that time, we knew that okay, there's ways that we can earn money through corporate sponsorships. So we did a few corporate sponsorships here, there. So we started earning a little bit of donations so we could afford to pay for the program officer. And building that, you know how they say, build and then they will come. It's pretty much that concept. It was very difficult at first when we came into the country to try to sell the Innovate Gambia, the woman, especially with the Woman Boss. Why woman boss? Why not a man boss? Because again, being very intentional about having a space for women only. But there was lots of challenges, and there's still lots of challenges, but build it, they'll come. Eventually, you see the trust in different organizations, and then people get to know you, and then they will come. So you get approached now by other agencies. In this case, we work with UNICEF, we've worked with UNFPA, we have worked with or collaborated with or partnered with the U.S. Embassy, and we received lots of support in the community in terms of sponsorships and corporate sponsorships, so that we can continue to do the work and the program. So again, you just have to start, and they will come. We formed a nonprofit organization. When we first registered in the Gambia, it's called an association, but association, it's some sort of a form of a nonprofit organization that I learned. And so we formed that, but we did it where the main members of the organization is myself and my co-founder, in this case, my husband, where we started that. That's the legal. So you always need to make sure that you register your business legally. Getting your tax identification number, getting all the legal aspects of it, and selecting which you think would be the best. Obviously, in our case, we wanted to do a nonprofit organization. But there are different forms of, within nonprofit, different forms of that. So we did that. We also registered in the United States, being very intentional about it because we knew the partnerships that we wanted to do and get. So the Woman Boss is also registered as a nonprofit, as a 501c3 in the United States as well. Then all of our contracts, partnerships, and et cetera, we want to make sure you always have some sort of a MOU. We have MOUs that we create if we want to work with anyone. That way you specify exactly what you want to work on, who's going to do what, make sure it's specified. We have NDAs, in this case, depending on the partner comes in. At the time, maybe we're just having discussions and maybe nothing is secured. So you have your non-disclosure agreements on that. And then any other thing, you just want to make sure that you have your contract. So for us is making sure there's a contract that's signed. The plan is there on how you want to execute. So we have attorneys here, for lawyers that represent us here in the Gambia, and then we also have lawyers that represent us in the United States. In this case, if you have, wherever your company is registered, it is very important that you do work with attorneys there, accountants there that understand the laws of those particular countries. Creating the Woman Boss was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in my life, only because you do lack sleep. I've grown like a couple of gray hairs, really, just to be funny. But mainly it's you have this idea, it's so great, and you're like, why not? Why not create impact? Why not build impact, especially in a community that you're from, it's the least developed nation, etc. But you would think that the idea would just be hugged by so many, especially people in power, people in government. And so we had this notion, because in the US, if you build that, you know, something like this would be like, yeah, you're going to get the support or support from the community. I think another challenge was that when you come in and you introduce yourself as a Gambian organization, sometimes you don't receive all the support that you would receive. And so I went about and actually had to use my other hat. As you can tell, I'm a biracial product. And so I used my other hat and had to go through the consulate in Spain, and doors opened. Let's just say doors opened after that. So you had to use another nationality to come in, and then the doors opened. I guess you kind of get a lot more respect if you're another nationality. So that was the first challenge. Second challenge was really resources to put it all together. So I quit my job. I quit my 9-to-5. I moved my entire family to a different country. I was in the United States, lived there for a very long time. Very comfortable, I would say, and so I had to change that mindset of not receiving a salary, taking my savings and putting it into this organization because I believed in it so much. I thought, why not inject my own capital and then see it flourish? And the resources were just not as available as I thought that they would come in. And then coming into the country, location, finding the location was mighty easy, because as soon as we passed the building that we were in, we fell in love, and I knew that this was going to be home for the Woman Boss. But we thought, okay, we're going to have women entrepreneurs that will pay in membership, and membership fees will be easy to collect. So it's been a challenge, to get folks to pay their fees. That's another challenge that we have. But overall, I would say that the challenges that we have are minor in compared to the impact that we're having in this country. So people that are going to be fighting you, there's going to be a lot of people, and we still have a lot of people that are fighting us because of what we're building and the impact that we're doing into the country. But you have to believe in the product and the services, in this case for us, the services that we provide. And we know that the impact is so much greater and the work is so much greater. And even though it's difficult, resources are lacking, etc., I just believe in so much because I know the impact and some of it you're not going to see now, but let's say in 20, 30 years now, when you see all these women leaders and they'll tell you, I went through a Woman Boss program. So some of the opportunities that we've encountered, obviously being in the country, would be working with certain partners. And I have to give kudos to UNICEF. They've been a really good partner. They see the vision. They know that it's important the work that we do, but it's also important empowering young girls in our community. They want to help us build the next generation of women leaders. They know that gender-based violence is prevalent in our communities, and they want to do something about it. So you do have partners that have come on board. We work with ITC, certain programs that we deliver for them. So it's opened up doors to work with certain UN agencies and certain embassies that also want to fund our work, continue our work. Our growth strategy really is, again, focusing on the economic opportunities, creating and increasing economic opportunities for women and girls in the country. But not only that, we have a growth strategy that includes global. So we want to increase our global footprint in Africa. We also want to make sure that our work is recognized in the United States and seen in the United States. So we do have an accelerator program planned specifically for the United States. But in terms of the Gambia, our footprint, I want to make sure that we are across all parts of the regions in the country. We have a soft number that we usually don't share, but we have a soft number to make sure that we do reach, in the next 5 years, we'll reach about 20,000 girls in terms of leadership training, being in different schools in the programs here, but also working with other schools in other parts of the world to bring in the Girls in Leadership program, again, just building this next generation of women leaders. There's been many times where I just want to, take off the gloves and say, that's it, I'm going to shut the doors. I've given dates, like, okay, this is going to be this October. That's it, I'm exiting Gambia. And every time I fly into the country and I land into the country, my heart can't take it. This is home, this is where my heart is. I've been all around the world and travel all around the world. And only one country, every time I land into the Gambia, that I weep, I cry literally in the plane as I'm flying in, because this is home. And I know so many people need the services that we're doing. And the impact can be felt across the country, even though you're not getting maybe somebody that's patting your back and say, hey, good work. We don't need that. It's the work is challenging because you're going to have a lot of people that hate on you just because you're doing something, or hating on you because you grew up in other parts of the world, or maybe you don't speak the same way, or maybe you look different. All those challenges, just throw it out the bucket, because if you do believe in the services that you provide, if you do believe in the product that you bring in to whoever your audience is, you just have to literally block everything else and believe in that and push for it. When the time has come, hopefully not anytime soon, if it's time to exit, maybe. If it's not, maybe not. But my hope that is I create this legacy for many years to come, that it will be here for years and years coming, for 100, maybe more, that you can sit down and say, this young girl, this Gambian girl started this nonprofit organization.